podcast for hunting and Halloween fanatics. The Prop Shop. Welcome into the Prop Shop. It's been a bit. The Prop Shop is back. I know I've cycled through more Prop Shop hosts than I cycled through call girls, but I've decided to take a different approach this time. Moving forward, I'm going to invite prop builders, makers, production experts to discuss materials, techniques, and hacks to help you level up your prop building game. And I'm joined by an OG home haunter from the Canyon Trail Cemetery. What town are you in, Jim? I always forget the town.
Carroll Stream, Illinois.
Carroll
you can
Stream.
say Chicago area.
Chicago area. It's
whatever.
Jim Slanker. What's up, Jim?
Afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're listening to this. Jim, you've been working with the Transworld team. You've been working on the East Coast Haunt Convention, East Coast Haunters Convention, the MHC for a number of years, and you're a regular host seminar person there. You've done quite a few seminars at the cons. I think you just did the Motorized Props seminar at the MHC. Did you also do that at East Coast?
Yeah, I didn't do it at MHC this year. I actually did it at East Coast. I did the motorized prop building. I think it was last year at MHC. So,
okay.
And I've done pneumatic seminars and a couple other topics, controllers.
So what I wanted to talk about is some motorized props. I figured this is something that I don't think I've ever really gotten into. When we've done the prop shop over the years, we kind of focused a lot on building props, but not any of the mechanisms, pneumatics, things that control the props if you want to have an animated prop. So, if you wanted to level up your haunt game and take your basic static display and add some life to it, motorized props would be the way to go, I would think, correct?
Yeah, I don't think anything adds more zing to your display or haunt than some motion. And animatronics, stuff that moves, I think is the biggest factor to draw people out of their cars and actually get them, looking at your haunt, looking at your display. And I know every season I see all sorts of posts, people asking, in frustration, hey, I've got all this stuff and everyone drives by, but I can't get them to, get out and look at everything, and they miss so much. And I think the easiest way to get that to happen is by adding motion to your haunt with props. And I think the easiest way to add that motion is the gateway is a motorized prop. Probably the easiest way and the way most people start, right? In building animatronics is the motorized.
Yeah, diving into pneumatics that usually comes after the motorized. You start messing around with the motorized stuff. So for a motorized, if somebody wanted to break their hymen on a fairly simple motorized prop, just to kind of get the feel for how they can start, adding some life to their other props, what would be a good one to just get into, just to kind of get their feet wet?
I think the most common motorized prop people start with is the Tombstone Peeper, where you've got the head or the mask popping up from behind a tombstone. And
now you're talking about the straight up, straight down, correct? Not the one that kind of lifts up and goes over the.
Yeah,
I've always been confused about what is that, the peeper or the popper?
Yeah,
I don't know the term.
I don't know if there's strict nomenclature to it. Usually, people start, in my experience, in watching people grow and develop as haunters. They usually start with the one that sweeps from one side over to the other because it's a little bit easier with the mechanics.
Yeah, it just kind of comes up over the like the tombstones here, and it kind of comes up over it, and then it comes back down.
Yeah,
Right?
it starts at one side, pops up a little bit higher, and then comes. It's an arc, basically, and
Yeah.
I think that's what most people start with, and then they go from there. It's certainly probably one of the easiest ones to do.
Yeah. I think the first one I did, I think I skipped. I made a faux pas, and I went to a pneumatic one first before I started going to the motorized. So but I tried to do the pop up, like the popper pneumatic version, not the motorized version. Just and of course I did everything that people were telling you to do back in 2008 or 2007. Go down to the dump, ransack a washing machine to pull out the solenoid out of it. And you know what I mean, like do the solenoid, and then I had like I can't remember. I think I used the door, the door closer,
The screen door closer,
the spring door closer hack, and just everything I would tell someone now to absolutely not do. Like, absolutely don't do that. But yeah, that's what I did, because that's what everybody was kind of saying. Oh, you should do this. You could do this for like $3.75. You could build the whole thing, and then, but yeah, it was like, yeah, it's terrible. It didn't last long before it broke, and then after that, I decided, no, I'm going to do a motorized one, and then I did the Peeper, with the arc.
Yeah.
And luckily, somebody online hooked me up with one of those little motors. What motors work best for those?
Really, you can use one of two motors. Most people, the gateway motor that I think most people start with is what's called the Deere motor, right? It's called the Deere motor because that's the motor people are found in those wireframe deer that are lit up. People use at Christmas out in the lawns. It's got some great advantages. They're cheap. You can often find them as a Kirby because those deer typically don't last very long before the lights go out and people pitch them. So you can usually get them there. They're weatherproof because many parts of the country deal with all sorts of atrocious weather. They're 110 volt. You just plug them in and you're ready to go. You don't have to do any special wiring, and that's all. And the Peeper does not require a lot of torque or a lot of power behind it. So I think that's probably the most common one people start with. But then the alternative is the wiper motor, and that's probably the workhorse motor for motorized props is the windshield wiper motor. They have a ton of advantages to them. They're fairly readily available. You can get them online from Halloween prop suppliers. You can order them online, from Amazon or auto supply stores. And then if you're in the right part of the country, you can go to a junkyard and either pull them yourself or buy them. The only challenge with that is if you're pulling them online, pulling them from a junkyard or buying them online, you need some basic electrical knowledge, because I always see people, hey, I got all these motors for free, and then a week later they're going, hey, how do I wire this motor? Which is not a shot at them, it's just they don't have the electrical experience. So you don't need a degree, but you need some basic electrical knowledge. Whereas the ones you buy from Monster Guts or my go-to is Fright Props. They've got the wiring diagram. Fright Props has the wiring diagram on the sticker on the motor. So,
Monster Guts is still around. I mean, they were actually pretty prominent back in the day. I think that guy Dean doesn't own it anymore. I think he sold it. I'm pretty sure. I thought that's what someone told me, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, Fright Props and them, they pretty much, their pricing is pretty similar to each other, I think. I don't think there's much of a difference there. But yeah, the thing is, if you do buy from them, they are basically somewhat plug and play. I mean, like they are already kind of like made for you to be able to not have to splice, dice, hack it. You can kind of just plug it in, and you may need one of those, what do you call them, that dials down, like if you want to adjust the speed.
Yeah,
like
a PWM. So there's a couple different ways you can adjust speed with wiper motors, and they are low voltage. They run anywhere from about 3.5 volts up to 12 volts, and the higher the voltage, the faster they'll rotate. So a lot of times people will buy 5-volt power supplies, and the wiper motors will run slower. Besides, most wiper motors can be wired either at high speed or low speed. So think of it while you're driving your car, you can adjust the speed of your wipers. That's done. There's typically you connect 2 wires off the wiper motor. One of the wires is you're either using low speed or the other wire is for high speed. So you can use like a 5-watt power supply and the low speed wire, and you'll get much slower rotation than if you use a 12-volt and the high speed wire. The only caution on that is the lower the voltage, you do reduce torque some on the motor. But if you're designing your prop correctly, hopefully you're not stressing out the motor where you need all the torque, because if you do, you're probably going to have issues down the road anyway. But if you want to use just the 12-volt, and by the way, if you use a 12-volt power supply, most often it's going to be too fast for the effect you want. Halloween, typically, you want slow and creepy, and 12-volt, the rotation on the wiper motor is pretty darn quick, so you do need to reduce the speed. So you're referring to a PWM or a pulse width modulator. What that does is it reduces the speed but maintains the voltage on there. I don't use
so the torque is consistent.
Yeah. I don't use PWMs, and I'm not saying my solution is the right. There's no one right solution for anything. It's all opinion what you prefer on there.
So your solution is you use a different wire.
I use a different wire, but then actually. So I used to buy 5-volt power supplies. So then I'd have 5-volt power supplies and 12-volt power supplies. And then you want to guess, when I want to get a power supply, I could never find the correct one, So I stumbled upon adjustable voltage power supplies a few years ago. They're about the same price, and there's a dial on there, and you just adjust the voltage to the speed that you want on there. And I know a lot of people, and so when I first brought them up, people are like, well, it reduces the torque. And I'm like, well, that's not an issue for me. But a lot of people do prefer the PWMs. They're a couple bucks. You can buy them on Amazon, buy them on eBay. And it's another dial, and you adjust the dial, and you adjust the speed by adjusting the dial. The reason I don't like them is you've got 4 more connections in there. You've got 2 connections into the PWM and 2 wiring connections out of the PWM. And in my eyes, you've added 4 more points of failure, because the biggest issue with motorized props typically is a loose wire. So But that's my opinion
Yeah.
for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, but they are a bit easier to deal with because you're only having to turn a knob.
Yeah, so it's 6 of one,
like,
half of
I mean,
another.
I don't know.
On the variable voltage power supplies, they're the same size brick as a 12 volt,
Yeah.
and there's just a knob on there, like on the PWM. There's a little screen on there that shows you the output voltage, and you just turn that knob to whatever voltage and speed you want. And that's works well for me, and I know a lot of people have gone to those.
Yeah, because I mean, as you start doing this, and you kind of, you get down in a few years or so, and you've built a few, then you can start seeing, hey, oh, well, I can, you get more comfortable, and you're willing to say, hey, I'll just swap the wire out, or instead of having to buy this extra thing, and you can start looking at ways to cut corners, save yourself some dollars and whatnot. But yeah, so I mean, for a person who's like completely oblivious to having to deal with wires and all of that, the PWM's just like a simpler, easy solution for them, where they can just kind of, because you could buy the kit. I think on Fright Props and whatnot, they sell you like the motor with that, and like everything is together, so you don't have to. You can just buy the package.
No, absolutely. They have.
And you don't have to piece it together.
Yeah, they have the whole kit. It's got the wiper motor, the PWM, and the 12 volt power supply at all, and then a little adapter that connects the wires from the wiper motor to the barrel of the power supply, so you don't have to use lock nuts or solder or anything like that. It's a real easy screw connection.
So if you're using the the reindeer or the deer motor for that, that's pretty much already slow. So you don't have to do you don't have to tweak. There's nothing to tweak. The motor is just going to give you that slow, steady movement. But with the wiper motor, you're definitely going to have to dial in, or it's going to go, or swap out the wire, use a PWM, or you're going to get this thing going like this all night long.
It's great if you want a startle effect, but yeah, I mean, at 12 volts, those wiper motors turn quickly, and your prop's going to move very quickly, and it's, like for a Tombstone Peeper, you want it slow and creepy. You don't want the guy, in the Kentucky Derby racing down the.
Yeah, I've seen some people post things like they're like, oh, I just did this Axe-worthy ghost, and the thing's zipping around the yard. It's like a jet flying around the yard, and I'm like, you gotta slow that thing down. You're killing. The effect is not there if the thing is going. Things going like 60 miles an hour around your yard. It's insane. All right, so you get the Peeper. So the Peeper can, once again, 2 different motors would cover you for that prop, and it's a pretty simple build. It's basically, I think when I built mine, I had a 2x, like I think I just cut out a small piece of plywood that I glued to the back. Then I glued a piece of like 2x3 to it, and I think I put one of those eye hooks in it. The metal bar went up, the aluminum stock went up through that into the styrofoam head with the mask on it. There's really not much to it other than that, right? You use like basically a piece of aluminum stock, maybe one of those little eye hooks, or what is there anything that you do differently or that you would advise?
Yeah, so a Tombstone Peeper is really easy. Personally, I would not go. So let me step back and give some advice that I learned the hard way.
Don't listen to me.
Over-engineer your stuff, right? Because I don't say that because I'm smarter. When I started out, it was cobble something together. Oh, I've got it running for 5 minutes. Awesome, I'm done. Then you put it out there, and you're either fixing it every day, that you have it up, or Halloween night it just breaks, right? And everything in there. So I really do now preach over engineering, and don't try to make it as absolutely cheap as you can, because you're going to pay for it in the end. So a couple things. I normally don't advise PVC, but that's a great prop for a piece of PVC, because it's going to hold up well. You don't have a lot of weight. You typically have a wig head on the top of the PVC with a mask over it as the Peeper. That's the most common I've seen. I try to stay away from aluminum stock now, which is what I started with, right? Is aluminum stock, because it's great to work with. It's soft, so you can bend it easily, and it's easy to work with. That is some of the things I find are negatives of aluminum stock, is everything that makes it easy to work with makes it subject to problems. Either the aluminum bending, as it's under stress, or you put you drill your hole, and the thing's been now running for a month, and the hole is enlarged because it's been running and everything, and all the features of aluminum that make people want to use it are some of the exact same reasons that you don't want to use it. So I don't want to say I don't use zero aluminum. I use pretty much my flying crank ghost, which is the motorized prop that we started with. And actually, that's what started our whole display, was the flying crank ghost, and she's still around.
It's intermission time, folks. Make sure to follow and share the audio podcast, and please give us a 5-star review. Also, follow Hauntcast on Instagram at hauntcast.podcast for show updates and visual content such as pictures and tutorial videos, which post daily.
And now, on with the show.
Let's talk about the FCG, which is one of the most iconic motorized props out there. People constantly, I see people post or tell me that they built this pneumatic thing and they've got this, or they spent all this money on this prop or that thing and this thing, and they've done all this. They spent like 4 months building this massive scene or set, and people just come to the yard and go, oh my God, I love the flying ghost. The ghost is amazing. And I've had the same thing happen in my yard. That's why I got rid of the flying ghost. I got rid of it because it's taken all the thunder away from all my good stuff, the stuff I want people to be looking at. I still have it. I haven't gotten rid of it. I can't get rid of it. But the FCG is actually not... well, I've seen it built a number of different ways. Usually it's... Why don't you just, as best you can, just explain the build of it?
Yeah, so it is a really... So it is one of the first 3 props we made 20 years ago. It was the first animatronic or motorized prop we made. And to your point, she's still front and center of our display 20 some odd years later with the same motor running. And it's a really basic, it is a wig head. It is a couple wire clothes hangers and some cheesecloth. And then you have an armature with a motor, and all that motor does is it just runs and spins. And there's an armature to hold up the motor. Most people put it in a mausoleum of some type. It doesn't hold up.
You need some kind of it's good to have like a housing that it can be in, because that way it's easy to set everything up. People can do it in their bay window, like if in their house, but then you've got to set it up in your living room, and that blocks out your living room for a while. So mausoleum's a great place to have it for sure.
Yeah, and because it's so light, if you put it outside, you really need to do something for the wind, because it's literally a wig head and cheesecloth and a couple feet of wire. Yeah, so there's 3 connection points that you connect with fishing line to the arm that's moving at the top of it out of sight. And the motor turns and the arm turns, and there's 3 pulleys. And as it goes to the left, it pulls up on the right. And as it goes to the right, it pulls up on the left. And then the whole thing goes up and down. So it looks like it's floating in air. And by golly, to your point, I've built, pneumatic props that go 15 feet into the air and come around and reach around and, pinch your butt and everything. And, and people go, yeah, that's good. Did you see the ghost, though? And if we took that away, it would upset people.
Do you have a how-to tutorial on that you recommend people to go if they're looking to build one? Do you just say, oh yeah, go to this page or go to this channel, like they have a good one?
I have a fantastic how-to on it. It's by Imagineering. I don't think it's posted online, but when I started, like you, building props, there was no Facebook or anything like that, and haunters had their own websites, and they used to do how-tos on it. So I think it was Imagineering or something. The guy's not around anymore, as far as I know. But so I used to. Oh,
are you talking about Doug Ferguson, the guy who is supposedly the so-called creator?
Yep.
Phantasmechanics, if it's still
there,
up.
You go. That's
Phantasmechanics, if you can find it. I have an interview with him on the show. So if anybody out there hasn't listened to it, want to hear the actual conversation of the creation of the flying crank ghost, Doug Ferguson interview, go look in the back catalog of episodes. Yeah. It's in there. But he did have a good one. He also sold this way over-engineered version of it. Like he was selling the whole aluminum, housing thing that everything kind of, which I thought was a way overkill for this prop, but was still cool. But I figured out.
So that's absolutely the one. But I printed off it. I used to print off anytime I came across something that I thought was cool and I might want to build. I used to print it to PDF. So I have thousands of how-tos because websites used to come and go. So I actually have his how-to. So I don't know. He gets all the credit. I didn't anything. I'll be happy to share it.
Yeah.
Or if you want to.
So if somebody can find stalk Jim down online, you can get a maybe he'll send you the PDF if you coax him. You talk sweet. Yeah. You talk sweet to him a little bit.
The motor that it was a Dayton motor. And the secret is a low-speed motor. The Dayton motor is no longer available, hasn't been available for about 10 years now. So people have used Deere motors, they've used Wiper motors. I actually, because I'm thinking of doing a make and take for our local haunt group for the FCG, so I stumbled across a motor that has the right RPM for there and is mounted easily. So that's available on Amazon.
What motor is it?
Give me a moment. I'll have to.
You know what? How about this, Jim? You can. We'll just. I'll add the link in the description. You can send it to me, and I'll just add it in the description. That way we don't have to worry about trying to find it. So look in the description for that link. I had a motor that because the Daytons had gone out of stock and they were no longer available, and I had one. I think I got it off of Monster Guts at the time, and it was supposed to be their closest version of it. I hated the thing because I used it for a number of years, but what would happen is it would cycle, but it would stop every 10 minutes or something like that for some reason. It would just stop. and then it would start up again.
Duty cycle.
Yeah. So it wouldn't just continually run for 3 or 4 hours a night. It would stop and then start up again. And and that kind of drove me nuts. And I kept saying, "Oh, I've got to replace this." And then I ended up just taking I had to get rid of the mausoleum. It was too much of a pain in the ass to lift and move around. And then I was like, "All right, let's give him a rest because he's taking too much of." He's stealing the show away from all my other handiwork, pissing me off.
So to that point, I actually, I'm like, well, because some motors, aren't made to run continuously and will overheat and then they'll stop, and it's their duty cycle, right? So I let this motor run for over a week, nonstop, for 24 hours a day, and it ran like a champ. So I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah. Excellent. Anything else we need to cover on the FCG?
And the biggest impact to the effect is you take your cheesecloth and you soak it in some like Tide detergent.
Oh yes.
For a few hours and then let it dry and everything, and then you get a black light and the Tide. There's other ways you can make it fluoresce as well. But I found just Tide detergent.
I think that's all.
Works.
I think that's all I did, and I think I might have put some in a spray bottle. So, like after a while of I would just give it a spritz. A little bit of a spritz here and there. Worked amazing. There was nothing else I had to do with it, and I had like 2 of those, just the basic strip black lights you use on a black light poster. I just had 2 of those in there, although those are not waterproof. So. If you try to go with something, there's much better ones now. They have all these little LED black lights now. Like I picked up a couple last year, and I put it, and that's what I would do. I wouldn't go with those strip ones like I use. Like I learned how many over the years. I learned like so many ways of what not to do, how not to do a project. And the one other thing I would just say: do not get sucked into this. If somebody tries to promote that this is something you should do, do not use tulle. Use the cheesecloth. Do not use tulle. It's too fluffy. It looks like a wedding dress floating around. Don't use that. Yep. I got somebody sold me on that, and the first iteration of this, I did that, and then I had someone say, get rid of that tool. And then I did it with cheesecloths, and it changed the game. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have listened to that person, but I did. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you can use cheesecloth, or it's basically the same thing, but you can get it in season is the creepy cloth they make in a off-white. You can use that as well, but I tell people to go to Joann's and get the cheesecloth because they used to sell it in packages, but that's not an option anymore. So
are they out of business or closing down now? Did I hear that?
No, they are closed.
Oh, they're gone. Oh,
yeah. Michael's bought some of their IP, some of their names and everything. But the stores themselves are closed, so I don't know. There's talk about rebranding and everything coming back, but now with Amazon, you can just I'm sure buy it. I know. It's just I used to like being able to just go down to the store and like wander in there, because then you could look at the Halloween stuff when you're in there. Go in, even in the middle of the summer, stuff's coming out. You'd be like, hey, I'm looking around for picking up cloth for something. Anyway, but yeah. When we started, man, because we started about the same time, we had to do some stuff, right, and use stuff that was challenging and everything, because that's all that was available. I mean, technology and supplies have come so far. Like, people ask what LED lighting we use in our display, and I'm like, well, a lot of it's homemade, and they're like, what do you mean you made your own LED lighting? I'm like, because you couldn't buy LED lights. You had to actually build them. Almost all the spots on my tombstones are homemade LED lights that I made. I video on my YouTube channel, by the way. But yeah, they I actually kind of like doing, I have like, the 5mm ones, the warm white 5mm in there. I replaced that. Actually, I'm sorry, the 10mm. I had the 5s in there. I thought I needed to be a little bit brighter, so I went up to the 10s.
You buy those pre-wired lighthouse LEDs. They're just really easy to put together. You don't need to know how to solder. You watch one video on how to solder, video on my YouTube channel. They're really,
they're super. You've got a wiring video up there, where you educate people not to make the same mistake you made, and they should start with solid core. Wire, right?
Absolutely.
The stranded wire.
Oh my God! I had to replace out all of the stranded wire. So it's funny. Somebody on the video, I posted this video when I was doing it, and because I didn't use the heat wrap, like the heat shrink wraps, because I didn't have any available when I was doing the video, so I was just like, I'll use just electrical tape and I'll hit it with heat. It's kind of the same freaking thing. The water isn't the problem, not on solid core. But I mentioned in the video, like, use solid core, and then somebody in the comments said, he's using tape and he's talking about the problem with the solid core corrosion. I'm like, if you have solid core, doesn't matter if you use tape. It's like, if you use the core, maybe it would help out if you use the heat shrink on stranded, but no, I still don't think so, because where it was corroding wasn't at the connection. That wasn't where I was having a problem, where I was soldering the wires together. It was always where I would plug it into the Wago connectors, because that's how I wire them up, nothing fancy. The wires would always completely corrode there and keep breaking. So all of a sudden, I was constantly having to go out and re-strip the wire and put it back in. I had to do so much maintenance on my cemetery over the course of the month. And I finally said, that's it. And I just went and I ripped out all the stranded wire and everything, and wired everything with solid core. And I try to, I sing that, I'm always, anytime I can tell somebody, just use a solid core. I don't care that you got the roll, you got 1,000 feet for $5 on eBay. Just don't do it, man. Don't do it.
It goes to over engineering, right? Yeah. We don't say this because we're brighter. We say this because we've lived the nightmares, and been out there. Every day fixing stuff.
Yeah, it's
had stuff.
How much is your time worth? You have to also factor that in. For a few extra dollars, it will save you so much more aggravation in time. Time is money, and there's certain times I want to spend time on something because I don't care. It's like, it could even cost me more money to do something that takes me more time, but it's because I want to do it or I want to learn it. And then there's sometimes it's just like, why am I wasting my time on something where I could just pay an extra $5 and save myself hours, 10s, 20 to 40, a week's worth of time down the road, having to fix it, patch it, redo it, whatever. People learn. And
especially when it goes out Halloween night, right? If the big night,
it will work all month fine, and then it goes down Halloween night on you, right? So I think we kind of covered most of the basics on the FCG, right? We kind of anything else, you really have to just watch a how-to video, and we should hopefully have that link in the description for you as far as that PDF. What else are good entry level, good bang for your buck sort of motorized prop would you go for? Would you recommend someone do besides those two?
Some really great ones to start with is Spider Hill Prop Works. Here's a home haunter who came up with some ideas and put together, and has machined some PVC fittings and everything. Spider Hill Prop Works. I'm not connected to him at all, but
I'm not either. He's a good dude though, and he has a good product, and I think the price is reasonable. I don't think it's
it's reasonable. He's got how-tos, and that's what I always feel is get some stuff and learn it, right? Get understand it, and that's why I think make and takes are so great, right? You're building it with a support network around you, and then afterwards you can take that basic knowledge, and now you can start going out and doing your own things, and either adapting what you've built in new ways and doing new motions, or coming up with stuff completely new. But Spider Hill Prop Works, he sells stuff as kits that you get everything. And then he even has some of the how-tos up there on his website. So it's spiderhillpropworks.com, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
If you do a web search on it, it'll come up. But he's got how-tos posted up there where you don't even have to buy anything, and you can download them and go from there. Now it does use like he's got some great elbows and everything, which you can do your own thing. You can take the PVC and heat it, which I'm sure doesn't put out any fumes, and then squeeze it and
it's not toxic or anything like that.
Right. But that's what we had to do before Spider Hill came around. But he sells some great joints that really make movement easy, and once again, something that's going to run all month long for years after years. So he's got some ground breakers. He's got a Watchman kit, a couple other ones. So great props to start with, using wiper motors on there.
Yeah, and I think if you do buy a kit like that, that is like that's what I think. Was it Steve-O? Someone from years ago said this. They said, it was probably him. It was like, buy a kit. Like, if you want to get into pneumatics, first, why don't you buy a kit for something, and then you'll see how everything goes together, because you'll have it all. Everything will be laid out. You'll get everything you need, and you won't have to keep running down to the hardware store or ordering new things online that you didn't realize you needed. You buy the kit, you can put it together, and you can kind of get it. This is it. This is all I have to do. I just connect this to this, and then plug this one in, and then connect this thing here, and then it's working. It's moving. It's But yeah, he's got some of those, like the standard, like those zombie that kind of rocks around. His upper torso kind of moves around at the waist. He's got the ground, like the Casa Fear Groundbreaker, but the motorized version of it. So yeah, it's a good way of just like grabbing one, getting yourself, putting it together. You kind of see how things go together, and then you can go off and buy shit on eBay and Amazon and do it yourself if you want after that, and save yourself some money. But once again,
I'm a strong believer that while the kits may be a few dollars more, they actually end up to be cheaper. Because if you ever want an accumulation of stuff that is the wrong stuff, hit me up. Because, I would like, either the kits weren't available, or, I was trying to figure it out on my own and stuff, and I'd order the wrong stuff, and now, to your point, I go to build it, and it's the wrong stuff, so now I had to go buy other stuff. So I have 20 years of the wrong stuff accumulated.
I just realized I have like a box full of solenoids that I did. I'm like, I was just working on my monster in the box. I could not wait to build one, and then it never looked right. It never worked right, because it was one of the first things I had done. It was like the second pneumatic prop I built, I think. The crate didn't look right, I had more problems with it because I didn't over-engineer it. I didn't build it for it to last, and that thing's rattling all over the place, and you need to screw everything down, glue everything down. Everything needs to be glued, screwed, whatever else you can throw on it to keep it in place. And but anyway, I was just trying to wire it up, and I was like, I found this box full of, all this shit. I'm like, why do I have all of these? It's like probably because I bought the wrong one. Instead, I didn't buy the 12 volt. I bought the 110 volt, and then I had the 110, and I was like, oh, I got to swap it out for the 12 volt. And then because I didn't understand the difference between the two as far as controllers and the solenoids and all this other shit. So if I had bought the kit, I wouldn't have all this extra shit lying around.
I've got 20 years of it, right? But yeah, so buy the kit. To your point, everything's there. You then learn enough. And then if you want to go source and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to save a few dollars, you can intelligently buy the different components rather than buying the wrong stuff and having to spend twice as much because you're, got all the wrong components and everything on there.
Words of wisdom from an OG haunter. Absolutely. All right, Jim, I think we're going to wrap it up there because I want to do some more of these down the road. So I think we can maybe do another on Motorized. Maybe we'll do a little bit of show and tell next time, and we'll have some stuff in front of us so that it'll be easier for us to show people, some of the mechanisms and stuff. And then we could do some pneumatic stuff as well. So we'll have you back to the prop shop on a few occasions coming up down the road. So we'll wrap it up there, and we'll have you back soon on the prop shop, Jim. Thanks for being here.
Honored. Take care.
Please like, subscribe, comment, give us a 5-star review, share with friends, and buy us a beer if you see us out in the wild. Follow us on Instagram at huntcast.podcast for show updates as well as more pictures and video content. Join the Huntcast Hunt Club on Discord with live streams bi-weekly. Also, like and follow our Huntcast Facebook page. Listen to the entire back catalog of our audio podcasts, available on all podcast platforms, with over 550 segments now available. Until next time, stay scary.
You can stop this.
There is no stopping it, Daddy.